Warning, this podcast contains spoilers for Season 3, Episode 2 of The Mandalorian. Hello, my name is Jason Concepcion.
And I'm Rosie Knight.
And welcome to X-Ray Vision, the Crooked Media podcast, where we dive deep into the mines below the beautiful planet surface of Mandalore, into your favorite shows, movies, comics, and pop culture.
In this episode, in case Jason's beautifully read introduction did not tease this to you, we will be stepping out of the airlock and into Season 3, Episode 2 of The Mandalorian. Lots of baby action here, people. So if you're on Baby Watch...
Oh, the baby.
There's so many babies. In fact, there's actually a new baby edition we get in this, where the baby is doing a new trick again and again and again. It's delightful. And in Nerd Out, from listener Swati and Emily, they have got a theory after watching the premiere of The Mandalorian that they're going to share with us.
And of course, if you want to jump around, check out the show notes for the timestamps. Coming up next, the airlock. We're stepping out of the airlock and into the mines of Mandalore for Season 3, Episode 2, Chapter 18 of The Mandalorian on Disney+. This episode, titled The Mines of Mandalore, was written by Jon Favreau and directed by Rachel Morrison. We open with our good friend Peli Motto on Mos Eisley. She's doing her thing. She's fixing cars. She's arguing about prices. It's Bunta Eve, which means a day of celebration, of fireworks, of racing. Tell us about Bunta Eve.
Yeah, Bunta Eve, you may be familiar with it because this is the celebration that the Hutts put on that includes a very famous pod race. That would be the pod race that we saw in Episode 1, Star Wars Episode 1, and that has been referred to many, many times in Legend. So this is kind of another prequels era Legend expansion that we're seeing brought into the contemporary canon. Love to see Bunta Eve. I thought this meant we were going to get a pod race. We didn't. But
we kind of did.
We got
you kind of see some street racing, like in the distance. Yeah,
and also some great fireworks. And you know what? The baby is happy to see Peli, and I want to say that you're about to see that #1 new baby trick.
Oh yeah, baby. So Mando returns, and of course Peli's always got time for her friend Mando. The cockpit opens. Grogu, our beautiful baby Grogu, does a full front flip, that probably spans 10 to 15 feet of distance
least.
Out of the cockpit of the N1 into Peli's arms, foreshadowing what, as Rosie noted, is a very flip-heavy episode for our beautiful big 50-year-old baby.
I'm like, there needs to be like a flip counter, like ding, flip one, ding. I was watching it, I was seeing a little flip. I know this says whoever puppets the baby was like, I've worked out how to do some wire work for the baby. I'm putting it in this episode. Like the baby's
have
flipping.
To say, little baby Grogu's force endurance, is clearly, that training has paid off, because no longer does little baby Grogu just black out after doing some force stuff.
He's not taking a nap.
Just like go into a full-on like catatonic sleep. So Mando lands and he's like, hey, Peli, you haven't seen a memory chip for an IG series droid, have you? And Peli's like, ha, Grandpa, that's an antique. They don't make those anymore. Mando then says, okay, listen, I need some help because I'm about to explore Mandalore, which, if you haven't heard, is completely destroyed, also potentially poisoned, and maybe cursed. Not sure. And on top of that, I'm going to be like spelunking down below the surface. She's like, spelunking? I'm like, yes, spelunking. Is what she says. She says, I got just the right thing. It's an R5 D4 astromech. Now, the history of this droid is quite unique.
Yeah, so if you've seen the original Star Wars films beginning...
Ever heard of it?
Ever heard of Star Wars A New Hope? Originally
1977 Star Wars A New Hope.
Ever heard of it? What inspired The Mandalorian? That's what, when it says Star Wars beforehand, that is what it's referring to. So in that movie, Uncle Owen, God bless him, we know he was trying his best. And Luke,
R.I.P.
They almost buy a different, what they call in the movie, they say, oh, this R2 unit, but really it's obviously an R5 unit. We all know that now. God, George Lucas, like, catch up. So they almost buy this R5 unit, but it, like, its head blows up and it doesn't look like it's doing well. And obviously what ends up happening is they buy the R2 unit. The R2 unit has a secret message for Obi-Wan Kenobi from Princess Leia. Help, you're our only hope. Great. And R5-D4 goes into Star Wars history and the Jawa trash heap. Until now.
Until now. It's back, baby. But it's in rough shape, as one would expect. It's been through some shit, probably, a galactic civil war, not to mention rough treatment at the hands of the Jawas, and probably not a lot of maintenance. It also seems to be suffering from a pretty healthy case of PTSD. It just wants to live a peaceful life at this point, is what I'm saying.
It just wants to be chilling, and Peli is not helping him.
No, it definitely does not want to go into the dangerous and potentially cursed mines of a planet that has been genocided by the Empire.
He said, I do not want to go to that glassed planet. No spelunking for me.
Absolutely, but guess what?
It just wants to be chilling. Guess what? It's going.
You're a droid, so you have to go. As the R5 will be told.
Let's talk about the moral quandaries of droids another day.
Let's put that. Let's table that for now.
You've been sold.
It's very troubling, but we'll table that.
Put a pin in that.
And Peli's like, hey, let me sweeten the deal. Maybe you don't want this hunk of junk because you're like, what am I going to do with it? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, I'll make it even better for you. I will reinstall your droid port, the place where Grogu has up until now been kind of riding in the N1. Grogu can sit in your lap, and the R5 can help co-pilot. That's what they were made to do anyway. And because it's Boonta Eve, and it's you, and it's the baby, and I love you guys, half off. Mando's like, fine. And Grogu is clearly delighted.
Grogu is loving life. Even though he just lost his little seat, he loves his new friend. Very invested. Also, this is really great because this is like, it's playing on the stuff that we love the most in The Mandalorian, which is like, Peli passes off this astromech. She doesn't really want it around. It clearly doesn't really work when it starts. Like, as soon as they start lifting off, it's like, woo! Yeah. And she's like, bye, can't hear you. But Mando, the moment that droid gets in the N1, that's Mando's new baby.
And it's part of the tribe at that point.
It's part of the family. Like, he's not letting him go.
Official Mandalorian. It can't take off its helmet because there's nothing under there.
Doesn't have a choice.
So they arrive in orbit above Mandalore, and even from that high vantage point, you can see that the damage done by the Empire's fusion bombs was extensive. And Din says, it was once green and beautiful back when the songs were written. It's Mandalore, the home world of our people. And he notes to Grogu, who's kind of cooing in a way that only Mando can understand. He's like, well, I've never been there either, he says. And then he points out the different celestial bodies in the Mandalore system. There's the moon of Concordia, former seat of power of Pre Vizsla during the Clone Wars, the place where the kind of more militant wing of the Mandalorian people during the Clan Wars had kind of shuttled off to, and also the place where Din grew up as a kid. And there's Kalevala, where Bo-Katan is just sitting in her castle moping by herself with a fucking droid just sitting in her throne looking sad. They then land on the green glassed surface of Mandalore. It looks like a Heineken bottle. And we learn that because of the effects the fusion bombs had on the atmosphere, no communication signals can penetrate the atmosphere. Therefore, if you are on the surface of Mandalore, you are essentially isolated. So that's the news. Mando then says to the R5, hey, you know what time it is? I know you don't want to do this, but I don't particularly care. So get out, roll over to that little cave, that ominous looking cave behind the rock, go down inside of it, take an air sample and come back. And the R5 is like, and then Mando's dangerous. Like, it was not a request. You will go. And so, and Grogu, to Grogu's immense credit, the baby, again, so empathic, so emotional, so caring, is like, gives Din a look that's like, I'm kind of worried about the R5.
Yeah, like this seems like a bad idea.
Those beautiful dewy little eyes, like a fawn or like a puppy, just
its
looking
ears
at
are
Din.
so emotive,
Yeah, and they're just kind of sagging up and down. And Din is like, yeah, don't worry. Here, if you worried about him, look at this. We can watch him on the scope on the dashboard of the N1. Look, there is the little light that symbolizes the R5, and watch it's rolling. Oh, and then the signal cuts out. They're like, uh-oh. And they have no idea where the R5 is now. So now Mando's like, fuck, I guess I have to go in, pressurize my helmet. Grogu, you stay in the car.
Don't touch nothing. Stay in the car.
Don't touch anything. It's poisonous out here. You stay in the car. And Grogu's like, well, clearly very concerned and also kind of like, Dad, I fucking told you. Did I not tell you?
Did I not say to you that this was a bad idea?
So Mando goes down, and once under the surface, he comes to like this little ledge where he can look over and see the wreckage of the city. Now, a little context here. So Mandalore, for years and years and years before the Empire decided to wipe the place out, had been racked by various civil wars, clan wars. And because of the devastation done to the ecology of the planet, everybody lived in these like domes or underground, right? So all the cities were like packed together, and then everything outside of there was basically wasteland. So what Din is seeing now is like inside of that dome, the subterranean cities that were where people lived on the surface of Mandalore. And just as he is beginning to take in the scene, he's attacked by these kind of simple but very violent creatures called Alamites. They lived in Mandalore's wastelands before the Purge, but now, seeing as how everybody's dead, they decided to move into the cities and make a place their home. Very Mines of Moria. Feel.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Oh, completely. And they did a great job with the Alamites. They look like they might have used at least practical creature work for a little bit, so it really
good.
Feels like you're in. Yeah, it's like that Mines of Moria, but it also feels like you're watching something that's that more serialized 80s kind of like B-movie vibe. Also, have to say once again, Din, I love you. But this man loves to kill a creature.
He's a hard-headed guy.
Like, I'm sorry, bro. These people live here now. The Alamites.
It's kind of their world.
They just live in their house, and you just come in there, you just start killing people. Like, one time, my friend, just take a step. But you know what? I understand. He needs to survive, and we get a great fight scene here.
We get a really, really fun fight scene. Mando is forced to take out the Darksaber because his blaster is thrown away. We see that he has gotten better with it. But also not quite good. And it's also still very, very heavy in his hands.
It's like not easy.
He struggles to lift it. It looks like, it might weigh something like, 50 pounds or something. Like he has a lot of trouble swinging around, but he does use it pretty well. He takes out the Alamites. He finds the R5. Now, I have a theory here. The R5 is, at least, Mando's like, oh my God, the R5. The R5 is like pretty beat up.
Yeah. But it was beat up before.
It was beat up before, and it's like when Mando finds your R5, it's like limp, kind of like laying on its back. It's like the little like sleds that its feet are just kind of like pointed out, and just like sag down. But then I think he's faking, because by the time they get back to the surface, the R5 is just like rolling right. Can't wait to get right to the N1. I think the R5 was like, oh yeah. You got to take me out, Coach. I'm banged up. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore.
The kid on like the marathon who realizes he can't run, and he's like, "Oh no, my leg! I can't do it. I can't do it. Please,
you got to pull me out."
I love that read, because it gives the R5 has such a good personality here. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to risk his life.
He never wanted to do it.
And he just fell through a giant hole because you sent him somewhere he didn't need to go. Like,
I know.
Just let him be. And I like this idea that he's kind of like, oh no, I'm so faint. But then the moment they get onto the top, he's like zooming along.
Practically running to the N1. So they get to the N1, and Mando's like, okay, but I know you got attacked by several Alamites, but you did your job, right? And took the air sample. And R5's like, yeah, I did the air sample. And guess what? Just like Bo-Katan said, the atmosphere is fine. Mandalore is, other than the fact that it is completely destroyed and devoid of probably 95% of its life now, is not cursed. Mando then takes Grogu out of the N1, and they together go to explore this subterranean world, go on a little adventure, Grogu in its little floaty pod. It is very dark. Some might say too dark.
Yes, depending on how your TV settings are, you may say too dark. Absolutely.
Some potentially might say that. And you can just kind of see different strange and dangerous looking creatures kind of wriggling around in the shadows. Din then says, okay, well, we have to go to the living waters. The living waters are below the mines. Therefore, here's how I'm going to I know exactly how we're going to find the living waters. There's some water dripping down this wall. We just follow the water down. It's like, okay, this is not...
cool. I can tell you've never been here before. This is not a great plan.
Yeah, this is like millions of people live here. This is not the most specific plan.
I'm also thinking like, bro, I know that the astromech, you're giving him a rest, and I appreciate that as someone who loves a droid. But also, I feel like, could he not have done some kind of scan? We know those droids have always got some kind of secret situation occurring. Like, they can always say, oh, maybe there's like a hole here. It seems like a bad plan. I will say, though, I love this sequence because we get these great character moments with Din and the baby, where like Din will walk a little bit further ahead, and then Grogu will like see a creepy subterranean like alligator, and he'll speed up in the little pod. And
it is a wonderful Grogu reaction episode.
Yeah, lots of Groguing going on.
One more thing on the, could you not have pinpointed where exactly you're going? When you went to visit Bo on Kalevala, you could have said, hey, listen, I know that you think what I'm doing is stupid and childish, but like, do you have a map of where the mines are? Like, can you just tell me where they are?
If
like,
you don't care where they are, then you don't care to share it with me, right? Also, as well, like, I do feel like a minor, and I'm not really a plot hole guy because I enjoy to just go with the flow, but I do feel like he specifically does a speech, really great speech that pays off later on in the episode, where he tells Grogu why Mandalorians learn where everything is, why they care about maps, because if you know the way, you will never be lost. Like, if you know where you are. My friend, the magical mines of Mandalore are like a very famous location in Mandalore history. Wouldn't there be some kind of definition of where they are in one of your many stories? I'm sorry, I know it was destroyed, bro. I know you've never been there, but I do feel like could have had a little bit more preparation. He wants so much.
I think he's just very excited.
He is.
You know what I mean? Like, he's just like tremendously
excited. He wants
excited.
to be back in the cult, baby. He's ready.
He can't wait. And his big like breakthrough was like, I don't know, water drips down because of gravity. So he just follow it down.
Lucky he's got a jetpack because you got to go far down.
Anyway, they enter this larger tunnel. Din sees sticking out of the dirt there, you know, a Mandalorian helmet. He picks it up and he examines it. And just then, we realize that this is an ambush. These like metal jaws spring shut, trapping Mando in a cage. And then we see that the cage is actually the belly of this beetle-like craft that then flips over and walks away on its legs. Very scary, wonderful design. I love the design of this. Love.
And it leads into something that I feel like we don't really get to see very much, which is kind of this like, it's Guillermo del Toro-y, like body horror, Paul Verhoeven, even a bit Nightmare Before Christmas, you know, the bug that will snatch you up. It's really cool and such a good design, very unexpected. It feels
quite unexpected.
It feels like a really big juxtaposition to the kind of natural wonder of what Mandalore has become, because there's no civilization as you expect it, but then to see this incredibly high-tech and quite terrifying invention that leads to an even more terrifying kind of space is really cool, unexpected little twist.
Grogu quietly follows, floating behind, just out of sight of this vehicle piloted by a very strange alien creature. The alien then steps out of this beetle craft, and we see that the alien, it's unclear at this point like what actually is the alien's body, but we understand that it's piloting what
There's
is
at
immediately
least an eyeball.
Just an eyeball, but we don't know how much more of them it is, how much more of its biological body is there, and we see that it is piloting its body, so to speak, air quotes, is like a General Grievous-like
Yeah, it definitely feels like
body.
Grievous is the closest thing we've seen. This kind of super mech. But this is this kind of nightmarish Freddy Krueger almost like version where he's got these mechs that he can move between. And what's he going to do with Mando? I don't know, barbecue him? It looks like he's getting ready to do something terrifying.
It takes Din's weapons, throws them aside, and then goes, I guess, to prepare the spices or something.
The delicious marinade.
Yeah, and at that point, Grogu sneaks over and tries to force open the cage, but that triggers an alarm. The alien comes over, and this whole thing's falling apart. So Mando's like, "Hey, get out of here, kid! Go contact Bo." So Grogu then, who had left his little pod to try and force the rock,
was doing some delightful puppet walking. One of the best things a puppet can do.
Anytime you see the baby walk,
you're just like, thank God. It. But guess what? He learned a new skill and he's going to use it.
Here comes another flip. A beautiful, like 10.0 from the Russian judge flip into the floating pod. And then it's a floating pod car chase as Grogu is just barely evading not just the alien, but also like these sewer crocodiles that are down there. And they end up pursuing him all the way back to the surface to the N1. Grogu with, let's give him some props, R5's help. Surely.
Yes, I would say this true.
Surely.
He is an astromech. Let's not forget.
Yes.
This is a big moment for Grogu, who's also just force choked out an Alamite. And he's back in the ship. This is a huge moment for him, and it shows his connection to the Force. It shows his connection to Mandalore because he can navigate. But let's not write out the addition of R5 because I feel like Bo does.
Yes.
Bo's like, he was so great. I'm like, R5 is an astromech. This is what he does.
R5 really helped. Now, Bo is, once again, just like down in the dumps. Just like feeling sad, feeling sorry for herself.
Like she's gonna kill the Mandalorian. She's like, let's get rid of him once and for all. I'm sick of this shit.
I know. As soon as her droid comes up and is like, "Hey, unexpected visitor, Mando's back," she is like, "Fuck this guy. I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind." And she runs out to the landing pad, already screaming at the Mandalorian. She's like mad at him, making sure he's never going to come back. And then the cockpit opens, and guess what? You've been yelling at a baby. How do you feel now?
How about? Have you heard of him? The baby?
Yeah, the baby. And she immediately realizes, oh my God, something's wrong. So she flies off with Grogu in her own ship. They land back on Mandalore. Bo takes off her helmet because, listen, she's kind of on the outs with the whole Mandalorian stuff, with the creed, with she's feeling very disconnected from her culture and her identity. And she's also, as we see over the rest of this episode, feeling like, you know what? A lot of our beliefs are just for show. It's a sham. It's a trick that is being used to pull the wool over people's eyes so that my family could remain in control. It's all bullshit. It's all stage managed bullshit. So she takes off her helmet and she says of the planet, "This was once a beautiful civilization. My family ruled it all. Now it's a tomb." And then she tells Grogu about the days long past when Mandalorians and Jedi actually cooperated. Now, they also fought for a good portion of history, but there was a time when they fought side by side. We watch it in Rebels. And then she says to Grogu, "I don't know what they tell you about us, but there was a time when we got along quite well." And then she says, "So, how are you with the Force? Are you strong with it?" And she says, "You must be strong because you escaped from here and you got back to me. So you clearly must know what you're doing." And they head down to the lower levels. And then because Bo is a native of these parts and she understands the signs and sees things, she sees something about this tunnel that they're standing in front of is off to her. And she immediately sniffs out an Alamite ambush. And there's a big fight. And Bo pretty easily dispatches a number of Alamites. The baby is super impressed.
The baby's like, "Wow, you're so cool." And she's like, "Oh, did you think your dad was the only Mandalorian?"
Guess what?
She's like, "Guess what? There's others, and I'm one of them." Also, I really like the moment where she takes off her helmet because we know that Bo was the first person who told Din that it wasn't cursed. Yeah. But she was so pissed that everybody left her. She's just been sitting in her little temple, be like, "Mandalore's actually cursed. It deserves to be cursed." But when she comes out and she knew it wasn't cursed. She knew it wasn't poisoned. She pulls the helmet off. She's
just popped
chilling.
it off.
Like, I kind of love that. There's some really great moments here. And it's nice. I really like angry Bo, who is really quite justifiably angry. But
cynical, angry, like betrayed Bo.
But it's kind of nice to see what the baby brings out in everyone, which is this more kind of amicable, like she wants to tell the baby, like, we used to get along. Like Jedi and Mandalore, it can happen. Everybody wants to give that baby a hug.
I'll tell you what. You spend even 5 minutes with that baby. You are telling it everything. You are telling Grogu all of your feelings, all your you're telling him about the history of your family, your history of
every
your people.
Secret is
everything.
Happening. And the truth is, this is like one of the most foreshadowed, prescient lines of all Star Wars, was when Werner Herzog said, I want to see the baby.
I want to see the baby.
Like, I'm sorry. That is just everyone's feelings about this show summed up at all times. And they know it. This season has been really great. I love that baby car chase where you don't even have any dialogue. It's just him and he's scooting his way through and he's controlling it and he's going
It's a great action episode.
It's really fun. And it's that great mix of the action. I feel like they do, even in this very dim, quite CG heavy episode, like in the mines, they do give you these moments of practical texture and feeling, like when R5 gets out of the ship and you really see his foot hit the floor. It feels like you're in a real place. And the baby brings so much of that with the incredible puppetry, like those little moments of reaction and this kind of connection between them and Bo. Because remember, look, the baby's a badass. When it came down to it, the baby was force choking people. Like, it did not care.
The baby knows what to do.
So I think that I love this moment of kind of like cool respect and kind of bonding between it, like the baby and Bo, because when Bo beats a bunch of Alamites up, the baby's like, that was cool.
That was cool. And so Bo beats up the Alamites and she's like, she gives the history of the Alamites, how they used to live, in the wasteland. And she says, gosh, if they survived, I wonder what else did.
Dun, dun, dun.
Back with Din, the alien stabs Din with something. I initially thought it was like a meat thermometer, but then I really did. I was like, oh my God, he really is going to get barbecued in this little cage.
Him.
Yeah. But then proceeds to drain his blood. So I think that the alien was going to drink his blood, maybe.
Yeah, right. I was trying to work this out. Obviously, drain the blood, you can like jerky him or something. But think about this. I think you're right. Jerkied Mandalorian, a delicacy on Mandalore. Yeah. But I think you're right. I think when you see the way his body works, it looks like he has liquid pumping through these pipes.
Yeah, it needs
and I wonder
juice.
If he needs juice. I wonder if the blood is kind of his oil, which is this really creepy, good horror trope.
I think you're onto something there.
Ooh, and Mandalorian, he's not looking well.
He's been he's like being drained.
Blood is being drained and he has had enough. He's not fighting through it. This is not, if it was Joel, Pedro Pascal's other fatherly character that we've been talking about recently, if somebody tried to drain Joel's blood, that would power Joel up. He'd be like, don't take my blood, I gotta get to my baby girl. The Mandalorian's like any of us who are having our blood drained. He's just like, just has a little nap.
So luckily Bo arrives right then and shoots out the blood pump. But I have to say, even having shot the blood pump out after like maybe 5 seconds, maybe 3 seconds, a lot of blood came out.
At least a pint.
Blood
At least like a seventh of all of the blood in his body. He literally I know it was a lot because he sold it. Whoever was in that helmet, in that moment, in that bodysuit, if it was Pedro, good for you. If it was his standing, good for you. But in that moment when the blood starts pumping, a lot of it's gone. He's struggling.
It's immediately gone. It's like a thick. It's a thick tube.
And it's multiple tubes.
Yeah, multiple. And it's like, as soon as it comes on, like a lot. Yeah. Half a gallon? I don't know. It looked like a lot.
It was a lot. And the truth is that he really needs to go in those mines now. He needs the revitalizing bath.
Yes.
Because the baby cannot add blood to your system, as much as I'm sure he would love to.
So Bo arrives, gets in a fight with this alien. The alien has like a shock staff. Bo zip cables the Darksaber, which she sees there on the ground, into her hands, stabs the alien. And we see immediately, wow, Bo is good with this thing.
This thing is not having like a samurai sword. There's no issue. This is like Luke at his best, or Anakin with his lightsaber. This is like real
light
shit.
On her feet. She can wield it, is moving it around. Yeah. She is good with it. She stabs the alien through the chest, which if this was Grievous, immediately dead, because that's where the heart is. But that is just some sort of suit. And the creature itself is just living in the helmet. It's just in the helmet. And very reminiscent of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yep.
The alien then detaches its head, which is like this tick-like vehicle, and then crawls over to a larger crab-like battle suit, Bo is then, has her back turned. She's trying to get Mando out of the cage, and Mando's like, look behind you. And she turns and has to fight now this crab suit. It's a wonderful fight. Wonderful. Again, super fun vehicle design. I really enjoyed this. Bo wins, and the alien who just wanted to drink some blood.
He was just trying to live his life
dies.
in the mines of Mandalore. Also, as well, I will say, this is one of those fights where you're just like, Bo, it's so lucky you had the Darksaber, because nothing else would have done it. You're just chopping limbs off this huge mechanical monster right and left. Maybe a lightsaber, depends which one. But the Darksaber was the correct weapon for this fight, and you smashed it. She just ends that guy, no question. Sorry to that
R.I.P. R.I.P. to that alien who, honestly, that was a bad career move to decide to press the fight there. Just leave. Just get it. Just crawl away. Wait for them to leave.
Did you really need the Mandalorian blood so much? No.
Get one of the Alamites.
I mean, truly, can you imagine that man? That bug, we don't know.
I love how we're like, this is the Alamites planet. Let them, and then we're like, just fucking go kill one of the Alamites and drink his blood.
Look, that's their own ecosystem, all right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, this bug, the amount of unbelievable technological knowledge and invention that
we
this
gotta
bug
talk
had,
about that.
We did just kill somebody who was clearly
a space genius. What is going on?
Now he was a space maniac, clearly. But also, I feel like Bo and Din, they're very quick to murder someone. They don't really think about the situation. But you know what? He was drinking her friend's blood. I'll allow it.
It was some kind of tick alien. It had to go.
Yeah, it had to go.
So, Din has just had 1/20th of his blood drink.
At least.
So he's got to eat. So they're sitting around a fire now, and Bo is cooking up a nice big cup of pog soup. And Din is like, I've never heard of this. What the hell?
What are you talking about?
Bo is like, are you kidding me? Every kid on Mandalore drank pog soup. It's like, Bo, you were basically a princess. You lived. You're a rich kid.
She drops.
What are you talking about?
She drops the raw. She's like, oh, isn't that ironic? The Mandalorian, and he's never drunk pog soup. And I'm like, babe, he was kidnapped and raised by the Death Watch.
Sorry, I wasn't in the palace with the rest of the Kreeses drinking pog soup out of silver goblets. Sorry, I was from the dusty streets of Concordia. Anyway, Bo is shocked by this. Din slurps it down keeps the helmet on, and we get to see
it was very funny.
The technique is very funny. I thought there would be
a hat,
a tube that comes down or something,
You know who probably would have invented that? That bug guy they just killed. He would have had a great idea.
Bug would have immediately had that technology. Although we have to say, this is a conversation we've been having, many people have been having, but it's been in our Discord.
Oh my gosh.
How does Din keep his hair nice and neat and tidy? How do you brush your teeth?
This is
a million
the specific thing, right? Is the Mandalorian rule, is it you will never remove your helmet asterisk in front of other people, or is it you will never remove your helmet in which case how is their hair all not super messed up?
Can I go into the bathroom and take my helmet off?
Also, what is the technology within the helmet? I feel like this is an episode that really begs that question, because like you said, no little straw to come out to eat anything, but the helmet can just automatically seal itself around your face and make it so you don't die of a poisoned air. So I want to know, it's not just clearly just a cool metal helmet. Also, another question, what is the power source of the light that is attached to the helmets and the armor? That's the other thing I've been thinking a lot about. Lots of armor questions.
I wonder if you are never, ever, ever, hard never supposed to take it off, I wonder if there's some sort of, I guess, some kind of low frequency laser or something can trim the hair.
Oh, that's pretty clever.
I don't know
also,
how you would do the teeth. How would you do your teeth?
You just brush your teeth and wash your face. When you have a cast on, you just put a ruler with a little sponge.
That goes under. Kind of like how he drank the soup. Where he had to tip
somebody
his head
made such a good point in the Discord. Sorry, I cannot remember off the top of my head who it was. But they were if that kid is never going to get to take his helmet off again, why wouldn't they shave his head? Surely you'd shave the head before, but every Mandalorian has. Also, obviously this is different with Bo, because Bo takes off the helmet all the time. Bo's hair always looks immaculate. Every time she pulls off that helmet. So I want to know.
I take off my helmet all the time too. If my hair looked that
like
good.
every time it's like boom, like because I'm worth it, you know. Like, but like the funniest shit to me is like maybe there's like some cool hair technology in there. I don't know.
That's
maybe
what
they've got some like some cool like laser design, tiny droids in there cutting the hair, washing the face.
So Din slurps down his cup of Pog, and then is immediately like, "Okay, see you guys. I gotta go. I'm going to the Living Waters." Didn't I mention I'm going to Living Waters? And Bo is like, "Dude, you're fucking nuts." First of all,
why?
You almost got like blood drained. Second of all, this is like some kind of childish fantasy. Like, there's nothing special about him. Basically, she is suggesting my solution to the redemptive waters thing, which is just say you went.
Yeah, no one cares.
No one's going to check.
And to be honest, in this case, you found out that Mandalore is not cursed.
Yeah, so like you can go back with some real information.
They're probably going to be so distracted by that they're not going to care. And I also like the way that Bo's kind of pissed because she's like, I'll just take you back in my ship. You can come back with me to my palace, which is what Din originally wanted. But now Din's like, nah, I'm going to the mines.
So she's like, okay. She's like, well, all right. Well, I'm going to go since you have no idea where the fuck you're going. And your big idea was like follow water dripping down. Okay. So Din is amazed at the sights as they walk the kind of ruined streets of Mandalore. He can't believe that, the city is vast and millions of people must have lived here. And he says, it must make you really sad to see this, Bo. And she says, what pains me is seeing our own kind fight one another time and time again. And she says it was this squabbling, this long series of clan wars that made them too weak to resist the Empire when the Empire eventually did come to wipe them out. And she's 100% right about that. That is a fact. They then arrive at the mines. The mines are thousands of years old. They are a place of legend. They are kind of truly the birthplace of Mandalorian culture. This is where Bo, as a child, took the creed and bathed in the waters amongst all her family. But now her faith is shattered, and is essentially, poking holes in this kind of like cultural memory and saying like, this is all just pomp. It was all bullshit. Like, it was all just so we could maintain control of the planet. Like, it's just, it's this heartwarming spectacle. It was nothing.
Yeah.
And she then talks about her father, Adnai, who died during the Civil Wars defending Mandalore. And Din, when Din hears, oh, he died defending Mandalore, Din is like, wow, this is the way.
This is the way. Like, that's what I got to do. I love this moment, too, because I think it has really unexpected kind of like Princess Leia echoes, this kind of idea of the way that when you're like a woman in a royal family in Star Wars, they sort of just use you as a symbol.
Yeah.
And obviously Princess Leia had brilliant supportive
parents. That's a great point.
But if you've read the books and if you've seen the kind of way that people underestimate her, it's because of this idea of like, well, you're the peacekeeper, you're the young princess.
That's a great
also
point.
see the way, even in Andor, we saw that, with Mon Mothma's daughter, there's kind of echoes there. And even Mon Mothma's constantly underestimated because she's just this figure of kind of pomp and circumstance who plays this political game. And I thought it was really interesting to hear Bo talk about how she feels when also being Mandalorian is like so ingrained in who she is, yet she's so tired of the system. Yeah,
I think she notes quite accurately. This is kind of another conversation we had in the Discord that, for a long time, Mandalore caused its own problems. Just really caused its own problems. And any politicians that tried to forge a more peaceful path for the people were, effectively, it just caused such schisms in the society between those who wanted to maintain a more warlike path and those who wanted to live peacefully in a more politically based system that it just tore the people apart, weakened the planetary system. And clearly Bo is like, there must be something about how we decide to govern ourselves that is essentially unstable, is basically what she's saying. And they arrive at the mines. there's an inscription there, and Bo reads it. In part, it says, according to ancient folklore, the mines were once a mythosaur lair. Mandalore the Great is said to have tamed the mythical beast, and it is from these legends that the skull signet was adopted and became the symbol of our planet. Din, again, shouts to whoever the actor in the suit is, whether it's Pedro himself or whether it's the double, because you can feel the weight of the moment on Din. He's clearly very, very emotional. This is it. This is what he has been waiting for. This is the moment of his redemption, of his cleansing. He takes off his cape. He takes off his weapons belt. He wades into the waters.
Doesn't take off his armor. Feel like he could
doesn't
have a
take
bath.
off the armor.
Just
but
have to
I guess he knows what he's doing. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm like, sure.
Grogu is cooing. It's this huge, huge, weighty moment. Oh, this is awesome. We've done it. We're going to bathe in the water. And then all of a sudden, boom. Din is seemingly, it doesn't look like he fell. It definitely looks like he was pulled underneath the waters. I should say that Din is reciting the creed. I swear in my name and my names of my ancestors that I shall walk the way of the Mandalore.
It's this soaring moment. You think it's going to happen.
The words
this is
of the creed shall be, and then all of a sudden he's seemingly drugged down under the water. Bo immediately, without thinking, and shouts to Bo, just dives in right after him.
Yeah, really cool moment where she's swimming through. They light it really well, so you can really see this kind of huge action moment of her suit and the armor going under.
Deep,
it's
folks.
deep.
She goes down, 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 and she finds him all the way at the floor of the living waters cauldron or whatever it is, and she picks him up and swims up. And all you can see really in these dark waters is what's illuminated by her headlamp. And just as she is kind of going up, the headlamp illuminates a massive eye. And it can only be the eye of the mythosaur. The mythosaur is real, folks. And then they break the surface of the water and are just like, holy shit, did we really see that? This is a huge canon-altering reveal that the mythosaur, it's something that they have been teasing for quite a while. We've seen Din in season 1 ride large beasts,
and
right?
they always talk about how he's going to be able to ride the largest of beasts, and obviously a lot of that is leaning back to that really fun Star Wars Holiday Special animated thing, but it hinted at something bigger. And the idea was that the mythosaur was either very extinct or very mythological, and the Mandalorians took it on as this symbol that we see. That's the symbol of the Mandalorians, but nobody thought they were alive.
Pretty amazing. Now I ask you this. Now we've gotten a lot of, Bo talks about it, a lot about how divided the Mandalorian people not just are now, where they're basically on the brink of extinction at all times, but how divided they were for, many of the last years of their society. There are a lot of legends tied up in the appearance of this mythosaur and who rides the mythosaur.
Exactly.
Din, we've seen him ride beasts. He also has the Darksaber.
He's definitely riding that mythosaur, like absolutely no question, whether it's that one or a different one.
You think it's going to be him?
I think maybe it was the baby. Imagine if it was the baby.
This is what I'm asking. This is what I'm asking. It's because I think we've got 3, main suspects of who's going to ride the mythosaur. It's 1, Din. 2, Bo, who is real good with the Darksaber, has wielded it for a period of time. And, it comes from a natural, ruling family of this place. And then you have the rookie Mandalorian, our beautiful Grogu, who has yet to wield a lightsaber or the Darksaber or any kind of, light-based weapon, but would be really fantastic atop that mythosaur. So I ask you, who do you think is going to ride that mythosaur? I think Din is clearly the leader in the clubhouse. I think Din is the leading.
I also think something I love about this is the mythosaurs was like a Star Wars comic invention in the 70s. And I love to see that kind of how these little seeds can become these huge parts of stories. Part of the myth of the mythosaur, and we've seen it talked about in the show and in canon now, is this idea that there was a time when many Mandalorians rode them. So I wonder if we see all 3, or if we see Din and the baby, and then Bo on her own mythosaur, this kind of idea of
I love that
reconnection. You know me,
the
I
rebirth
love
of Mandalore, from the ground up, not just the rebirth of its people,
not an
but
ideology,
the rebirth of mythosaurs.
But an actual, like a real rebirth of it. I would love to see it. I think it could be very cool. The question is now, I think there's been interviews recently where Jon Favreau is like, I don't know when it's going to end. It's not like it's not like Andor where they know where it's going to end. So this show is going to go on. It's incredibly successful. I would love to see them ride a mythosaur by the end of this season, but that's probably not going to happen. But maybe we will see Din have a moment of connection with a mythosaur or Grogu or someone. Maybe we'll start to see that connection being built as the season goes on. But this and the R5D4 moments are like really big canon retcons, even though they seem really small. And that's what this show is so good at. But yeah, the mythosaur, I couldn't believe it. I love a giant beast. And I feel like they've been seeding it.
I have a prediction. That's a mythosaur baby. I think that the mythosaurs were extinct, but their eggs were somewhere down there, down,
Godzilla
down.
style.
And in the years after the purge, one or more is hatched, and that is actually that's a little one. That's a small one.
I love that.
Baby one.
That's a cool idea. Who doesn't love to see that? It's like everyone loves that in a kaiju movie in Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
You get that thing of, it's or even in the Meg, that really fun Megalosaurus movie. oh no, the Meg's coming. And then you're like, oh no, that's just the baby. The mom is coming, the big monster. That would be really cool to see. Also, who wouldn't want to see Grogu riding a baby mythosaur? If there is a smaller mythosaur for him to ride, I would love to see him ride it while Din rides a big one. But yeah, this is huge. I'm very interested. I love this episode. I definitely feel like there's been a lot of conversation. I think for a lot of people, this leans into a bit more of that Book of Boba Fett style. Creature work, weird adventures, kind of like strange myths and lore. I love all that stuff. I love the pulpiness, so I really enjoyed it. I'm interested to see where the show goes next, because this still feels very much in that vein of adventure and fun from the first episode. And I think people will probably be looking for a bit more meat on the Mandalorian bones going forward. So it'll be interesting to see how this redemption of Din, what happens now he's done it? That could have been a whole season journey, but now he is redeemed by the Creed.
Yeah. It feels like we are going to get some sort of crossover with the Book of Boba Fett, either characters or storyline, more than just what we've seen with these kind of like intersecting characters. But it does feel like, and I'd be surprised if we didn't see Boba Fett in this season, like in the season. Yeah, it'll be, I would imagine Din's very next move is to return to the Armorer and announce to the Coven there, to the gathered Mandalorians that, hey, our planet is livable. Let's move back.
What do you think they say? I'm really interested to think, like, we know that they say, oh, this is the way. The Armorer sent in then, this is the way. But are they really going to want to let him back in? Like, does this idea of redemption fit with this more militant, small community of Mandalore? That's what I'm most interested in.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll say no, and then when he reveals the truth about the mythosaur, they'll want to go or something. But I wonder if they're going to just welcome him back. I don't think so.
I think it's going to be controversial, and I think we're going to see in miniature the kind of acrimonious fractures that tore apart the Mandalorian society before that. I think it's going to be, maybe you might have some people that are like, yeah, that sounds good. He's got the Darksaber also. Let's move back. And I think you're going to have other people say no for XYZ reason. But I don't think it's going to be a hard yes or a hard no. I think there's going to be people on both sides of it. And I think it's going to take some outside thing that unites the Mandalorians that they have to fight against. I don't know what that is yet, but...
Also, Saul just asked a question which links to one thing I almost forgot to ask you. So Saul has said, do you think Bo is going to go back to Din with the Armorer? Right. Because Bo jumped into the waters of the mines of Mandalore, is she now redeemed? That's the thing, because to
save the life of a fellow Mandalorian? Absolutely, so. Right? You have to be.
So I think that's a really big key question going into the next episode is, does she choose to do that? Does she want to stay there but let Din spread the word? Does she embrace this as a new part of her life of being redeemed? I'm very interested in that. Also, I feel like the biggest thing here, and we know that she's going to show up in Ahsoka, right? But the biggest thing that does still feel odd here is to have no hint of Sabine.
Yeah.
Ren. Not even like
how are they? That does bump me a little bit too. Like what? Yeah. Like how do you?
Because
I guess I'd be surprised if Sabine showed up. I
don't think she's going to show up
because of casting. But
I've had some good. So a few different people have messaged, and I think this has come up in Discord as well. It's like, why hasn't there been a hint of like Sabine's art? You know, or something like some little visual nod. And when will that happen? Because that really feels like the missing the missing part of the wider Mandalorian world.
Well, listen, super fun episode. Love Baby Yoda.
Love that
looking
baby.
into Baby Yoda's beautiful eyes. Up next, Nerd Out.
In today's Nerd Out, where you tell us what you love and why, or a theory that you're excited to share, Swati and Emily are doing the latter, sharing a Mandalorian theory that they thought of after watching the premiere.
In Book of Boba Fett, Paz Vizsla says there are 3 of us now because the covert got fucked somehow and the armor and Paz Vizsla are hiding out in that space station. So who are these Mandos in the opening scene of season 3? My lady thinks they could be new recruits to the Children of the Watch, non-Mandalorian recruited by the armor and Paz Vizsla, which would explain why they're so bad at fighting the Crocoturtle. Or maybe they are using existing Mandalorians who are now choosing to be part of the Children of the Watch. Would be curious to hear your thoughts, as it does seem surprising there were so many. Thanks. Thank you, Swati and Emily. Yeah, I think it makes sense that these are new recruits. The question is from where?
Yeah.
And where's all the Beskar coming from? I think some of them are survivors, like a handful of them would have to be, also because they'd have to teach the others like how to be Mandalorians. But I think like that child is
that's a Din style adoption.
Yeah, I think you could say is new. There also might be, much like, you know, I don't think that Bo lives alone on the entire planet of Kalevala. I think there are probably others, and probably other survivors, maybe even on Concordia. And so I do think you're right, though, that these are probably new recruits, but to what end? And it would also make sense that they were just terrible at fighting that thing.
Yeah, I like that's the thing that really sells me about that is like they hadn't had enough training.
Yeah,
they were just kind of there,
like spazzing out.
Yeah, like I am sure that I feel like this has to connect to this kind of like almost a wider recognition of Mandalorians because of Boba Fett taking up his kind of residency, and also having, you know, surely the rumors have gotten around that there is a Mandalorian going around with a Force sensitive baby.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like maybe the reawakening of even just the recognition of Mandalore and the fact that there are still active Mandalorians might also draw people out of hiding if they were survivors, or
that's a great point.
Enable people who maybe had wanted to join like the Mandalorian way before to kind of seek them out.
Or if your family were refugees from Mandalore that managed to get out during the purge, and you hear that the Mandalorians, though still very, very small in numbers, are coming back. And in fact, as the great example of this is a Mandalorian warrior who is currently adventuring on the galaxy, as you noted, with a Force-sensitive baby. You might think it's time to reconnect with my identity and my culture, and I want to find where this covert is. Yeah,
especially actually, as we know, Bo mentioned as well that most of the Mandalorians who had followed, like most of her crew, they'd become like mercs. So again, that's people going around, not necessarily following the secrecy of the way, talking about the things they've seen. I think it would be easy for those stories and the kind of legend that Mandalore is rising again to kind of get out there, which is very exciting and good for them.
It's very exciting. Thank you, Swati and Emily. That was such a fun question.
If you have theories or passions that you want to share, hit us up at xray@crooked.com. Instructions are in the show notes, as always.
That's it for us. Rosie, any plugs?
Yes, I will be on Dune Pod this weekend.
Yeah!
Sunday night, I'll be on Dune Pod. The crew is in the Discord. They do so much fun stuff. That's like they are our friends of the pod. We pop on there whenever we can. And I'll be talking about Aquaman, as you all know, a movie I love deeply. So I'm going to be really selling them on it. It was a total blast to record it. So that'll be really cool. Otherwise, I got stuff IGN, Polygon, Nerdist, Geek, all those usual spots you can find me, and Letterboxd and Instagram, Rosie Marks, and of course here twice a week.
Catch our next episode Wednesday, March 15th. We'll be covering the finale, episode 9 of The Last of Us Season 1 on HBO Max. And remember, bringing you 2 episodes a week. Twice the tinfoil hat theories, twice the Pedro Pascal, twice the deep dives, twice the everything else, twice the candle burgers, all of it Wednesday and Friday on your podcast platform of choice.
And if you want to see us talking about evil tick monsters in the mines of Mandalore on YouTube, you can do that. You can subscribe to us. We put full episodes up there now. Also follow us at XRVPod on Twitter. We're always sharing cool stuff. Saul does great redesigns for every time we've got a little fandom we want to exploit, like our love of Pedro Pascal. And we mention it all the time here because we're in there a lot and it's a bunch of fun. Check out our Discord. Amazing fans, cool people, all different kinds of conversations going on, from sports to Star Wars to gaming to D&D and everything in between. And me and Jason show up there sometimes.
It's a fun place to be.
It's a joy.
5-star ratings, 5-star reviews. We need them. We gotta have them. You gotta give them to us. Here's one from wax_nostalgia. This pod goes deep. Jason and Rosie are super knowledgeable and hilarious. Excellent pod, folks. Thank you, Wax.
Thank you. That's so kind.
See you next time.
Bye.
Hey, Mike. This is his stuff from Marine. Yeah, I want to talk about the living waters and the mines of Mandalore today. Yeah, I wanted to make an announcement. Some of you may know this, that I had broken my creed as a member of the Mandalorian culture, and I took off my helmet, okay? I took off my helmet. I was taking the Long Island Railroad back, and I wanted to get a little drink. It was a long day at work. I was a little parched, and I couldn't get the tall boy under the helmet, so I had to take my helmet off to drink it. All right, that's what happened. But listen, I just want everybody to know, I went on my own dime, flew over to Mandalore because I heard it's not cursed and poisoned anymore. That was some disinformation. We got some fake news out there that it was poisoned. It's actually fine. And I went over there, and I went down to the mines, and I bathed in the waters. It's what can I tell you? It's wet down there. It's really dark. It's under some buildings. If you just follow, you'll see water dripping from the ceiling off the surface of the planet. You just follow it down. You keep going. It's under there. So I just want everybody to know. I wanted to announce it here. I didn't take any pictures or anything like that or any water samples because, frankly, I forgot about it. But I just want everybody to know that I did go. I went, and I am redeemed now. So if anybody's has any questions about that, please just know that I did it, okay? I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you, Mike.